I wrote it for adults, mostly women. Although I'm finding a lot of mothers and daughters are reading the story because it is a story about mothers and daughters. This is not your typical, yes, there is a love interest. There's a little light romantasy, if you want to call it that. And at the same time, it's really one woman's journey of transformation to who she is meant to be, to who her is what the other world would say is fulfilling her destiny. Mostly women with young adult crossover women. And also, I'm telling you, Dave, I'm finding husbands and wives are reading the book. I didn't know that. But because it's so grounded in the real world of a fishing village, and I'm a sailor and I know boats, and so it's got all of that kind of detail to it that I think a lot of men like as well.
Welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast. I get to have some really fun conversations before I hit that record button. It's really, really fun. Unfortunately, you don't get to hear it listening, but you get to experience a great guest on the show. And we save some of the fun stuff for us, right? Because it's a lot of work doing this podcasting thing, writing books and doing all that great stuff. And Jennifer's here to talk about her journey as an author. Lots of great stuff to talk about. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Jennifer, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you, Dave. I feel like we're old friends already.
I know, right? It's like we've actually hung out or something. Something's happened, but yeah, it's really good. Good to have you on the show. Let people know first, Jennifer, where are you in this big world of ours?
I am in southern Maine, and it's beautiful, although it's been a bit of a drought, so the foliage is not as resplendent as it has been in other years, and we'll take it. It's beautiful. It's fall. The leaves are turning. It's lovely. Yeah.
Your favorite time of the year, fall, or what's your favorite time?
Well, I will tell you that one of my expressions is this season, the one we're in, is my favorite. So I try to just savor whichever the season is, and of course, I'm from Buffalo. I love snow.
Oh.
People here are like, but I love snow. And then, of course, spring is beautiful because everything's rebirthing and summer is like bursting and then fall is kind of getting all cozy. I just love it all.
Okay, so I'm going to call UPS or FedEx and send you all my snow if you love it so much. And you can have all my Canadian snow if you want that.
Excellent.
Because I'm done.
I
you
love
can have it. All right, I'll send it to you. I might ask you to help pay for the shipping, but I will send that to you, and that'll be all yours. So there you go.
Perfect.
There's your parting gift for being on the show today. Free snow. I like it. There you go. Awesome. Good stuff. Let's talk author stuff, because that's why we're here on the podcast. Your journey as an author. What was the starting point? What was the spark for you to say, hey, I've got time. I'm going to start writing and become an author. Was it a push from a friend, someone who loves you, or did you just come up with this on your own? How did you get started?
It wasn't I've got time. It was the exact opposite of I've got time. So it was a dream, actually. And I'm a big dreamer, and I have had a dream coach, and I have the belief that dreams come to a person for a reason, and in the time that they come for a reason. And so 10 years ago, it was literally 10 years ago, I woke up in the middle of my crazy corporate engineering project manager life, and I had a dream with 4 images. And the first was of a woman standing on a cliff overlooking a sea. The second was of a people gathered in an old grove that looked like some kind of ceremony. The third was a non-human, I won't say who exactly, with piercing eyes staring right at me. And the fourth was this landscape that I immediately recognized as the Burren in Ireland, which is it's a UNESCO heritage site. It's a very distinctive landscape because it looks more lunar than it does like the green hills of Ireland. And so I woke up in the middle of my crazy corporate life with not a lot of time and thought, well, this is weird. who gets these images, upon waking. I went to a teacher, my dream coach, Dina Metzger, and I said, "What does one do with this? Like, this feels important." And she she thought for a while. She did a little considering of some of her otherworldly sources, I guess, and she said, "There's a story that wants to be written, and you have been chosen by your Irish ancestors to write this story."
Okay, I got goosebumps right now. Right, again, that's really, come on.
True. And I was like, but I'm running everybody's everything.
Yeah.
I don't have time. And that's when, I had a choice point. Do I cross the bridge to a different identity, which is what I loved as a kid? I loved writing poetry and playing with trees and under trees and on trees, and give up, a pretty healthy salary and security and all that to pursue this crazy idea that there was a story that wanted to be written, and I was the one chosen. And in the end, I thought, well, if not now, when? And if not me, who? Like, it's just it's gotta be, it has to be attended to, is kind of how I felt.
Okay. Up to that point of the idea and the dream, were you a creative person at that point in your life?
I thought at 22 years old, I was not creative at all. I have a twin sister, Julie. She was an artist, is an artist. She's everything it's very visual, drawings and things. And I thought, well, I don't have any of that. So I just didn't think that ideas were creative. I thought that like actual paintings and sculptures, that was creativity. But I've soon discovered in myself that I have a very active imagination, and that I guess I think being in the corporate world where it is kind of a box, and I never felt like I fit into that box. I think that I developed the capacity to just expand, to fulfill whatever my creative ideas and thoughts and songs and stories now are.
So was this one of those moments for you where your creativity was unlocked?
Yeah.
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 Because you are a creative person today. So
Yeah.
something's changed for you.
Yeah.
Or you've accepted your creativity. Something's happened, right?
Yeah. And I think it was years of lamenting, why am I doing this work that pays well and is the absolute pinnacle of the definition for success, which we're all conditioned to believe is titles and money and stuff and minions, and that never felt real for me. So I finally realized success is, I guess, accepting that wherever the gifts are that each person has, need to meet the needs of the world. Like, that's part of, that was part of this coming home to myself. I guess I'd call it coming home to myself.
Yeah. Were you unsettled in your work environment, your career? Like, was your heart like longing for something else, or were you just content where you were at?
My heart was so up-armored as to be not accessible. I had to develop such thick skin. I'm very sensitive, as I was very sensitive until I joined, I became an engineer and joined the corporate world. And just to survive, I just had to sort of lay down layers of armor. And so I was someone, I mean, you would not recognize today. I was like a cast iron, what, very hardened. If anybody even looked at me sideways, I'd be like all over, just very angry. Anger was just below the surface. And so that was a sign in and of itself. Like, there is something seriously wrong here. because I grew up with the stories and like the enchantment of the Irish people. My mother used to tell us stories. And so A Moon in All Things is really a tribute to that whole heritage of the deep rooted belief in the marvelous and the romantic, legends of dashing heroes or blackguards or all of it. And so it was just recognizing that I don't even know who I am, and I don't particularly like myself right in this particular career, that caused me to say there's more here that needs to be explored.
Yeah. Many times in talking to authors, there's that whole wrestling about like who would ever want to hear my story or read my book or hear my thoughts, that whole imposter side, right? But for you, it's like not just like who would ever want to read my stuff, but why me? Like, why was I chosen, like, to get the tap on the shoulder? Why not someone else? Like maybe my creative sister. Why not her? Why didn't you give it to her? Why'd you give it to me? Like, did you have to wrestle with that a little bit?
Yeah, I do think so because I had decided that part of what my lot in life was to be this successful, corporate person, even though it took its toll. So when it was like a little key opening a lock
Yeah.
that just sprang this whole threshold into a gateway of the imagination and the enchantment. And so I do feel like once that happened, and by the way, I will say, Dave, that I never told I'm one of 8 kids, 8 of us. I
Wow.
never told my family what I was doing. I just was told, don't spill the energy of this it's like a young baby bird. Like you don't want the harsh
Yeah.
criticism, the
Yeah.
like, what? Who are you? You don't have
Yeah.
an MFA in writing, all of that.
Yeah.
I just was told by a very wise person, keep it close. Keep it close. Just devote yourself to the story that wants to be told, and see what happens. And if nothing happens, fine. That you've still nurtured something in you that wanted expression.
Yeah. It's like you've been entrusted with a gift. Is somebody's given you this, and now, protect it, keep it, but you're responsible for it as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the word devotion, it was
Yeah.
top of mind. That there, it's a 10-year project. So starting in 2015 is 2025. There's a level of devotion, especially when there's not a monetary something tied to it. And it's more than a hobby. It truly, it actually felt like sort of like a sacred assignment in some ways. I mean,
Yeah.
when the ancestors tap you on the shoulder and say, that's not to be ignored, at least in my belief system. There's
Right.
something that's larger than me that wants to be given voice to, and especially the maternal side. Like my mother, her mother. Like I know my three great 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 grandmother was born in Dunmanway, County Cork, Ireland, but there's no records of her existence because she didn't own land. Nobody owned land, and if there was land ownership, it was in the male line. So I did feel like there was the voice of the women on my mother's side that wanted to tell a story.
So you're given this gift, but do you have the tools to accomplish the goal? Like, you are not a published author, right? You're kind of stepping outside of all of the things that you know well into something brand new. Did you kind of wrestle with the idea of, I don't have the skills and ability and tools to do the thing I've been entrusted to do? Or like, where do I start?
Absolutely. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's a bit of the heroine's journey just to
Yeah.
get to the publication of these books, my novel and my children's book. Yes, I had to wrestle with why me, as you suggested, but also I don't, I never, I only took a technical writing course in engineering school. So
Yeah.
what I did is I thought, well, you can learn. Learning is an ongoing thing. You don't need the degree per se, but you do need to hone your skills. So there's a wonderful association here called the Maine Writers and Publishers Association, and so I took course after course after course on honing my craft, story structure, how to create compelling fiction, all of that. And I just like slowly, as I was doing that, I was also submitting to anthologies, small pieces, so that I could kind of build up my credentials, so to speak, to be attractive
Yeah.
to a potential publisher. And so I was published in several anthologies while I was honing my craft. And then I was able to write the story. And thankfully found a publisher who said, yep, I want to publish that story.
Wow. Okay. Because there's authors listening to the show and maybe they feel the tap on the shoulder to do something big and they don't feel qualified. Like they don't, it's like I was chosen by accident. It should be somebody else, but for some reason it landed in my lap. And now I'm like, what do I do with this thing? I don't even know where to start. And they hear you talking about this and they're going, it feels like I'm on the same path that Jennifer was on and I don't know what to do. So if you heard a podcast just after getting the tap on the shoulder and were feeling this way, what would have been helpful to hear from a published author who has walked a similar path? How can we help that person listening who is also struggling right now, kind of under the weight and the importance of this tap on the shoulder? And what do I do next? Like, how can we help them?
Yeah, well, I think for me, the knowing that if a writer believes there's a story to be told that wants to be written, staying true to that and listening. There was for myself, I just listened as wholeheartedly as I could. I sort of created an empty vessel inside myself and said, okay, so here's this story. I didn't create a plot or an outline. I did none of those things. I just thought, if this is a story set in 1820s Ireland that has equal parts enchantment, super deep rooted beliefs in the marvelous, they would have called it, as well as this punishing poverty, and both really existed at the same time, then in order to tell a story like that with a level of veracity and authenticity and whatever, it's got to come from whatever ethereal sources outside of myself, because even though I did a ton of research, but it was more like, okay, I'm attending to this. And I think for anyone who feels that there's a story to be written, not worrying about, of course, working on your craft. There's so many books on writing. I could go on and on about those, but just not worrying about like what's the latest and greatest, what's the craze, what's the trend, what's the whatever. I feel like we all can get in those traps of saying, oh, well, dystopian is popular, let me write a dystopian, or
Yeah, right.
oh, whatever it is, high fantasy is popular, and for me, and this, we will see how this story, A Moon in All Things, affects its readers. I am having some very good feedback already, but it was more important to me to tell and stay true to something that had themes that I wanted to convey, and had the land itself in Ireland as a place that I really wanted to come to life. A fishing village, 1820s. What's in 1820s? We none of us know. Like, there was World War, Civil War. Well, we know all those other things, but
Yeah.
1820s was just a moment in time when Ireland was at this verge of losing their language, their culture, the the deep-rooted, superstitiously held belief system
Yeah.
because of the colonizing English and whatever. And so whoever's being called to write something, I just think just stay true to listening.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. And find somebody who's maybe a little further down the road and spend some time with them. And that's kind of the idea for the podcast, was I want this to kind of be like that for an author that's listening for inspiration, because I don't think as a podcaster we should podcast alone. I don't think as an author you should write alone. You should have some form of community around you to encourage you, support you when you reach those spots where you don't know what the next thing is. Somebody can kind of come in and be that support for you. So that's what I'm hoping the podcast becomes. But having you on to kind of encourage that person, I think, is really helpful.
Right. And I'll just say one thing, Dave, about that is at first, so I was part of a writing group. Of course, I took all those classes. And as I began to, what happens is you become your own, I don't want to say attorney for your story, but like this, no, I'm not going to take that scene out. Yes. So at first I would listen to anybody's everything. Oh, well, why couldn't she be like this? Or why, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll change that scene. Oh, well, I'll remove that. And so I had to, as time went on, realize that like the buck stops here as far as this is my story. And so, of course, there was such amazing advice from editors, etc.
Yeah.
And most of it, a lot of it, I took and learned from. And there were certain things that became like, I don't know, sacrosanct. Is that the word? That like this is staying in the story because I can't. This is in the story. So I think what happens for when you first start out writing is you sort of like, well, at least that's my pattern of people pleasing. Oh, okay, I can do that. Oh, I'll get rid of that. And then I began to kind of get some fortitude around like, no, this is my story. This is what I want to be included in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, back to your comment about protecting this thing that you've been given, right? And, don't tell the world, just protect this and go. I think that's a good balance. For you as you do this, how true did you want to stay to historical events and reality? And where did you play? Like, where did you have the freedom just to write what you wanted to write in the moment? How did you balance those two things?
I did a lot of research. I worked with a PhD from Galway University, Neil Kisawin, and it's this crazy Gaelic name that you never pronounce as Kisawin if you saw it. And he gave me, I must have like 4 feet high books that he gave me or references that he told me to buy to make sure that I really cared about the veracity of 1820s Western Ireland. And so that was a lot of work. At the same time, when I took artistic license, I wanted to make sure that I knew when I was doing it, as opposed to just making stuff up all the way along. So there were certain things, for example, in the novel, Morrigan, the protagonist, is called upon, summoned to heal the landowner's daughter's wart on her hand. And so she's like, I don't know how to heal a wart, but I knew how to heal a wart because I used the same curative that's in the story. And the curative is dried peas and saliva. Believe it or not. It's something someone told me. You've got a wart on your foot. Get some dried peas, surround them, put them in your mouth, get saliva on them, circle them around your wart. Do this like every single day for 2 weeks. The wart will disappear. It did in my own life. So I felt like there were things that I wanted to put in the story that I had experienced that were like, really? So herbal remedies, the folklore, the medicine, that I had experienced is in the story.
Wow. Okay. All right. What did you learn though from research that kind of gave like direction for you as the writer, or you learned something new that you didn't know had you not done this project? What kind of stuff stood out to you in the research?
Oh, so much. The I had heard of the Irish penal laws, which
Okay.
were the laws imposed by the English colonizers on the Irish people, but I hadn't really understood the impact of how those had created a society and culture that was just in abject poverty. So the penal laws were created in the late 1700s, and to try to subjugate the Irish people. And so things like the Irish people couldn't own land. Their own land was stolen from them. They couldn't vote. They couldn't become a politician. They couldn't become a professional. They couldn't own a horse of greater value than 5 pounds. They couldn't, at one point, practice their own religion. So all of these things served to diminish them to such an extent that they were basically, in the word, the English would say peasants. The Irish would say we're poor.
Yeah.
So when what I find in my book talks is people love just being dropped into 1820s Ireland and getting this like, wow, so that's what Morgan's up against as a woman who has this prescribed life. Find the best guy in the village, marry him, have a bunch of kids. That's your lot in life. You're going to be poor the rest of your life. This is it. And she says, well, I want freedom. I want to be a sea captain. I want to sail the seas. Like, my father's a fisherman. I get it. I know how to read the seas. I know how to read the weather and tides. And so she has this belief that getting out of the box of her constraints lies in becoming a sea captain. And what, as the story goes on, she realizes is that becoming free really means accepting her intuitive gifts that others don't have, even at the expense of her being considered dangerous to the people in power.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's part of her journey, is to figure out, like, what is mine to do, and how much am I willing to risk in order to do it?
Okay. All right. Who would you say this book would be a great read for? Because I'm trying to help the listener go, A, this is for me, and B, I know someone else is going to love this. But if you could kind of distill for us who your reader is in your mind as you get on to talk about this, who are we talking to? Who is the best reader for you?
Yeah, it's I wrote it for adults, mostly women. Although I'm finding a lot of mothers and daughters are reading the story, because it is a story about mothers and daughters. This is not your typical, yes, there is a love interest. There's a little light romantasy, if you want to call it that. And at the same time, it's really one woman's journey of transformation to who she is meant to be, to who her is what the other world would say is fulfilling her destiny. So mostly women with young adult crossover women. And also, I'm telling you, Dave, I'm finding husbands and wives are reading the book. I didn't know that. But because it's so grounded in the real world of a fishing village, and I'm a sailor and I know boats, and so it's got all of that kind of detail to it that I think a lot of men like as well.
Okay. All right. It's got a rich audience then for this. I love that. That's really good. As we go through the story then, let's just kind of unpack a little bit more about what's happening within the story then. You've given us the 4 images that came to you in the dream. How do these 4 images kind of work together without giving away the story? How do they all kind of work together? And did it make sense for you to see how they matched up within the story context? Like, I'm really curious about how these four different elements really work together.
Yeah, and again, it was more of a listening exercise than any sort of thinking I had control over the writing process. But the opening scene of the novel is Morgan standing on a cliff overlooking the sea,
Okay.
which is exactly what was the first image that I had
Okay.
seen from the dream. And in time, the ceremonial gathering of the people was a part, although it was just in the story, it just became her because she was tapping into the ancient ceremonial ways. So there were no other visible beings in that ceremonial grove. She was there to receive her instruction, her sort of this is what's yours to do. And then, of course, the non-human with the piercing eyes became the messenger who was providing a message for her to say, I know you think you're stuck in your life. I know you long to be a sea captain. Do you really like fish? Like what? And saying you are being called by the other world to follow in the lineage of your great grandmother, who was called Isla, the great healer. And Isla was known far and wide for providing healing in ways that people did not understand how it happened. And so that was, that was Isla would have been alive in the 1770s and in that time. And so Morgan was being told by that messenger, who I won't say who or
Yeah.
what it is,
Yeah.
that guess what? It's in your lineage. You've got to accept those gifts that you have, even though her mother, Betha, is quite jealous of Morgan because usually the gift of second sight skips one generation, and in this case, it skipped two. And so Betha, the mother, wonders if she did something that made the gift skip her.
Interesting.
So she
Okay.
loves her daughter, but she's jealous of her daughter and she's fearful for her daughter's destiny because it's dangerous. And yeah, so not sure if I answered the question exactly.
There's a lot of little nuggets there for you as a reader to go, oh, okay. Now there's something to look forward to as I read, but also I kind of have a guide that kind of leads me. It's fun. It's interesting because you talk about the messenger and the gift given, and we go back in our conversation, you were given a gift. So it's kind of like your characters are living out in a similar way the gift you were given for the story. Your characters are living out the gift they're given within the story. It's a nice little parallel going on there.
Yeah, yeah. You're right about that. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that interesting. It's like the situation, the idea somehow finds its way into the writing and becomes part of the story. So do you feel like that tap on the shoulder, that dream, this gift has been delivered well? Do you think you met your goal and you were the right person to write this story?
I do. And I
Yeah.
think because if I'm nothing, I'm not hardworking. I mean,
Yeah.
so I anything I do, I jump in with both feet. I always have.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I just kept saying I have to show up for this story. I have to
Yeah.
devotion, showing up, working the craft, listening for what wants to come through, all of it. It just became so important to me that, and I mean, Kirkus Reviews calls it atmospheric and beguiling. I've had some amazing reviews from places that don't often review books in the highest of regards. So
Yeah.
I know, of course, it's not for everybody. There's an enchantment in it. There's kind of, I've always was called the philosopher in high school. So I mean, there's like some of those. This is not just a I don't mean just. Bad word, Jen. It's not
Yeah.
like one of those easy go through
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and you're done in 2 hours. Oh, that was fun. On to the next. This is meant to be savored in a way. And if if I had my dream, it would be that it would be viewed in the same way that Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist,
Hmm.
has been viewed. His book, oh my goodness, it's a thin little book. It is chock full of wisdom, and I kept feeling like there were wise ancestors somehow guiding my writing, and so that's what's I hope comes to life for the reader, where they read it at multiple levels. The characters and the story is one level, and then more archetypal, and then more mythical kinds of themes.
Do you feel like you're closer with your relatives that have gone before you as a result of writing the book?
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I do call upon them uh, to like guide my words, like before this interview, you know,
Yeah.
guide my words so that I am speaking, from a place of not trying to sell something, just being
Yeah.
being super proud that I stepped up to the assignment, I guess,
Yeah.
and the story that wanted to be written.
There's a purpose behind your words,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. It's just not writing a book for the sake of writing a book. There's a reason why behind it. And I think that's really interesting, and that stands out as a reader when an author can demonstrate to us that this book needs to exist. Right? There's a lot of books that are written to exist, but this book needs to exist for some reason. This
Hmm.
needs to be told. This is a story that needs to be told. So
I like
interesting.
that. I like that. I
Hmm.
believe that. So
Yeah.
thank you for phrasing it that way.
Now, do you have an opportunity to go to Ireland and walk these paths and stand in these places? And has that been a reality for you?
Yeah, I've been 4 times, and
Okay.
once was 4 weeks, other times are 2 weeks, and I just felt this was right before I started writing the novel, and after I'd had the dream. So it was between the dream and the writing of it, and I just thought, I don't want to put the pressure on myself to start writing. I need to just go and walk as expansively on the land of my ancestors. And it was funny, Dave, because I had no itinerary except a landing space and a departing place. And every day I would wake up and say, okay. And I would say to my intuition, like, should I go north? Should I go south? Should I go east? Should I go
Wow.
west? And because this was March and early April, so there's no need for reservations really. You could just call the day of and say, hey, to an Airbnb, not Airbnb, a B&B, and
Yeah.
say, just wondering if you have a room. And, oh, sure. And it's funny. Inevitably, I was asked, like, well, what are you doing here all by yourself, a woman? Like, in the first paragraph of the hello, hi, I'm renting the room, I would say, my husband is coming. He just couldn't get as much vacation as I could. Because there's still a little of that,
Really?
like a
Okay.
woman on her own. What is this about? So
Hmm.
I did have to do that, but yeah, and I just felt like I was absorbing anything that wanted to just be absorbed, so that I could feel like I knew the landscape enough to write the story.
Yeah. To feel the weather, the all the environmental parts of it as well. Having yourself there, I think it adds another layer to your writing. To sit in your home where you're comfortable and everything is kind of one setting and one space, to be and stand on a cliff or be around the smells of a fishing area, right?
Yeah,
It's different, right? And that's going to show up in your writing.
it is. And I will tell you something that most people don't realize until they go to Ireland. Everyone talks about the green, green hills and the beautiful mountains and the sea. And but the skies are
Yeah.
amazing. The
Mm.
skies of Ireland are as fascinating to me as the hills and the sea is. It's just extraordinary. The shape of the clouds, the colors of the sky. And so that was something I wasn't prepared for because, I just thought, oh, it's about the sea and the mountains and the hills and the wildflowers. And then when I was there, I was like, oh, and this is going to sound really crazy, Dave, but at one point, because I was listening for what wanted to be revealed, I just heard clouds want to be in your story. Clouds want to be in your story. So the way I describe the clouds in my novel, I took particular care in doing that because I just felt like, okay, clouds want to be in the story too. Um, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So, okay. All right. I like that. We do have listeners who listen to the show in Ireland. So for them, as they listen to this conversation, and this is where they're from, this is where they live, do you have a special message for those people who are listening in Ireland today?
Just deep gratitude that my ancestors came from there. It's an interesting thing to we who are in America. We call ourselves Irish Americans. We put Irish first.
Yeah.
And to people in Ireland, they would call us American Irish. So that in itself, it's its own story of the people who stayed behind and the people who left the country. And so I just want to say to any Irish listeners, just a deep bow of gratitude for the staying power, for what has been
Right.
endured in generation after generation of not necessarily the easiest existence and just deep thanks for that whole bardic tradition of song and story. And when I was in Ireland, I'm telling you, there were no kids on their little electronic toys. There was none of that. I
Yeah.
bore witness to on it was the Sunday before Easter, Palm Sunday, a family coming into a restaurant, and it was a father, mother, and like four kids. The mother took the four kids to the restroom, the two of the kids to the restroom, and the other two olders were with the dad. And I was just watching them, and they said there was no setups, no plates and forks and knives. And the kids looked at their dad. You could tell they never or seldom went to restaurants. And
Yeah.
the kid said, Dad, there are no plates. What are we going to do? We can't. And the father, instead of saying like, hush up, kids, go on your Game Boy, whatever, the
Yeah.
father looked at the kids and said, we'll have to eat off our shirts. And he lifted his shirt up as if it was a plate. And not only that, the mother comes out of the bathroom with the two youngest and he says, Mary, there are no plates. We'll have to eat off our shirts. And the mother went along with it. And it was like, this is Ireland. This is Ireland. They are storytellers. They are steeped in that tradition. And so I just can't say enough about how my mother's stories fed me and how that still exists in places in Ireland. So
Amazing. I love it. What a great way to stop and end the conversation. That's a great visual, and I think it really ties in and ties everything up nicely. I really like that, Jennifer. For the listener, the reader, a fellow author who wants to reach out and talk to you and meet you and follow your journey, because I'm sure there's many more stories to tell. Where do you want to send those people so they can connect with you? And I have one more question before we wrap up quick. But where do you want to go?
Well, my website is my name, Jennifer Comeau, C-O-M as in Mary, EAU.com. And both of my books, my award-winning children's book and my novel, A Moon in All Things, are there. And if you use code 20, C-O-D-E, all caps, 20, you get a 20% discount on the books. And of course, the books are available wherever books are sold as well. So whatever's most convenient is what I tell people.
Yeah. Now, I don't mean this to be an add-on to the conversation, but I do want to talk as we head out the door about your children's book as well. Can you give us an overview about this book and who is it for, so that we can also support you by purchasing this book as well?
Thank you. The Inside of Me, it's for in vitro to 8 years old. So it's a children's picture book. And it's about the magic that happens on the inside when we go outside. So 9 different beautiful places in Maine are rendered on the pages by a Maine illustrator, Maine author here, Maine publisher. And so it's really an invitation to remember that we're a part of an interconnected web. And for kids especially, that not to lose the sense of awe and wonder that's available when you go outside.
Nice. I love it. Beautiful. And that's a good timing for this time of year as well. So really,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, for being part of the show. I know, talking to you, that there's more stories to come. And this is Living the Next Chapter, so it's kind of built into the name. So I would love to have you back in the future as you work on new projects, so we can reconnect, tell more stories, and share more about you and your journey. So please keep me in mind.
I would love to, Dave. And go Blue Jays.
Ah, there you go. You snuck that in at the end. I like that. Jennifer, thank you so much. Everyone, all information, as always, in the show notes. Support our authors when you buy both, not if, when you buy both of these books. For yourself, your loved ones, leave a great review. Let people know why you loved it, why the story touched you, what about the story touched you, so that more people will be encouraged to also support Jennifer and all the amazing stories she's telling. And that's going to help sell more books. And that's why we're here. We want people to connect with Jennifer. So please do that as you do that as readers. And again, Jennifer, thank you so much for being part of the show.
My pleasure.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.